thanks to Raycon for sponsoring today's video. It's September and school's back in session. That means dealing with obnoxious people during your next bus or train ride. Might I recommend Raycon's everyday earbuds to turn the world off for a bit. They're not only super comfortable to wear thanks to their optimized gel tips fitting whatever shape your ears take, it also ensures they're not falling off your ears anytime soon, which is great because I like to use them for yoga sessions and my head kinda goes all over the place. With just a simple toggle on the earbud, you can also switch between noise isolation and awareness mode. Gotta keep watch for those ninjas after all, or you can skip to the next song or video or switch to a preferred sound profile. Lasting over 8 hours of playtime and packing 32-hour total battery life thanks to the rechargeable carrying case, not to mention starting at about half the price of other premium audio brands out there. It's no shock that Raycons rock over 50,000 5-star reviews on their site. And Raycon, as always, is offering all my viewers a great deal, so click the link in the description below or go to buyraycon.com/Somecallmejohnny to save 15% off your next Raycon purchase. I thank you once again for helping support my channel and making all this possible. Now let's continue on with the show. Firstly, I want to give a humongous shout out to Farian. He designed the avatar I've been using since June of last year, but now for the foreseeable future anyway, he's also going to be designing thumbnails for future Versus videos. And judging by this video, I mean, he does fucking fantastic work. Show him some love and support, give him a follow on his Twitter page, Farian. Thank you again so much. I cannot wait to work with you again in the future. Well, I was originally just going to dedicate a video to the first Donkey Kong Country and move on from there, but you know what? Change of plans. Today I'm going to be looking at all of the Donkey Kong Country games in the Super Nintendo, the series that put Donkey Kong back into the Nintendo mainstream from the 90s onward, and it was another bullet in the barrel for the gun that Nintendo was using against Sega in the 90s console wars. After the third classic game, Donkey Kong was pretty much on a dedicated sabbatical, only making a handful of appearances and a few throwaway titles like a couple of Game & Watch micro games, Donkey Kong Circus and Donkey Kong Hockey. The hockey game is nothing amazing, but check out the circus game. I guess we now know what Mario did with Donkey Kong outside the first game, making the guy juggle pineapples on a barrel under a constant threat of bodily harm. What the hell is this face that Mario's rocking here? Is that extra bit of skin under his mustache his cheek? Got a fucking bloodhound face going on there. There was also Donkey Kong Jr. Math, an educational spin on Donkey Kong Jr. where you solve math equations to win, and now you know why I didn't originally cover it during the first Donkey Kong video. Moving on. I can only assume with the boom of the Famicom and NES and Nintendo having more and more blockbusters in the console scene, Nintendo just didn't know what to do with the guy. Donkey Kong thrived in the arcades, but with gamers spending more time at home with their brand new Marios and Zeldas, which offered more than your standard short burst arcade experience, where could Donkey Kong go from here? 1994 would finally give us that answer. Nintendo was now in a fierce battle for supremacy against Sega. It was all hands on deck in the second half of the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis lifespan. The idea around this time was to compete against Disney's Aladdin for the Sega Genesis, which I know sounds strange as Aladdin also saw release on the Super Nintendo, but it was more like Nintendo wanted to make a game that would surpass Aladdin's graphical fidelity, as that game used techniques to effectively take hand-drawn cells and convert them into sprites, resulting in a visually gorgeous adventure that would go to sell over 4 million copies on the Sega Genesis alone. Nintendo decided it was time to bring Donkey Kong back, but it wasn't just Donkey Kong on the Game Boy that would grace Nintendo fans that year. Donkey Kong was making his grand return on consoles with new developers and a new coat of paint. This was Donkey Kong Country, developed by British studio Rare, a company that by 1994 already had a healthy relationship with Nintendo, creating over 60 games for the NES and Game Boy. Your mileage may vary if they were good, for every Battletoads and RC Pro-Am, you also had Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Beetlejuice. I was also going to say A Nightmare on Elm Street, but you know what? I actually think this game isn't terrible, especially with friends, and the music is damn good. Anyway, Donkey Kong for a new generation. He's rocking a red tie now, a Jimmy Neutron hairpiece, and some seriously intense flesh brows. I know Rare went to the zoo to study gorilla anatomy for the redesign, but even gorillas gotta look at this shit and go, what? Gorillas can't fucking speak. But he was also getting a new buddy, and no, it wasn't Donkey Kong Jr., you naive fool. It was a new monkey in town, Diddy Kong. Although he was originally planned to be Donkey Kong Jr. early in development, but Nintendo didn't like the radically different design they had in mind and told Rare, Better just make him a new character. And so they did, with Donkey Kong Jr. vanishing into the ethereal plane after I can only assume getting into a car accident after his stint in Super Mario Kart. This kind of Donkey Kong game though wasn't about saving girlfriends or climbing steel girders and breaking your knees after falling just 2 inches. This, much like say Super Mario Bros., was a dedicated side-scrolling platformer, placing you in control of Donkey Kong himself alongside his new friend in a vibrant new world with some of the most impressive pre-rendered graphics of its time. Among everything else, for better or worse, the graphical fidelity of Donkey Kong Country was the main priority in development. And this wasn't like simple polygonal renders that Star Fox did a year prior. This was a completely 2D game with graphics that, as advertisements claimed, didn't require a 32X or a CD add-on. You didn't play it on computer. No, you just needed a Super Nintendo. Shit, you didn't even need the Super FX chip. Using supercomputers and a bunch of other techniques I'm not going to pretend I know anything about, Rare was able to take 3D models and compress them into sprites, producing a type of look that simply wasn't seen much back then. Although they say it's the first pre-rendered game, when that technically isn't correct, as Stardust, released for the Amiga in Europe, predates Donkey Kong Country by about a year give or take. I know there isn't much to this game visually, and it is an unapologetic Star Wars clone, I am aware, but it's the technicalities, you know? These graphics unsurprisingly pushed the Super Nintendo to their limits. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows behind the scenes either, as according to developers, these kind of graphics took hours and hours to render on hardware, not to mention the process of actually getting these renders to work on the Super Nintendo itself. This was not an easy game to make given the nature of its development, but despite uncertainties, Nintendo and Rare were all in towards the game's completion, with further emphasis placed on it thanks to a super aggressive marketing campaign targeting Nintendo's teenage demographics. So, you know, a lot of emphasis on mondo, cool, slow motion, and obnoxious photo filters that get you a failing grade in today's motion graphic courses. During Nintendo's Play It Loud era of marketing, Donkey Kong Country would simply wow its consumers with graphics and sounds. And in 1994, yeah, that included me. I have been playing Donkey Kong Country since its release year, but I wouldn't own the game for myself in 1994, but we did rent it a couple of times at a Blockbuster. West Coast Video was also a thing at the time, and I was all over it. As a 7-year-old, the game's graphics were mind-blowing to me. And I already had Sonic the Hedgehog under my belt and Super Mario Bros. 3 and World. I mean, they're no pre-rendered marvels, but they still looked great and colorful. But these looked nothing like this back in the day. We're going to get into the game properly, as especially today, nearly 30 years later, that's what really matters. But rest assured, Donkey Kong Country was the bee's knees just on its graphics alone. With that in mind, I won't spend too much on the game's graphics, since clearly they are a product of their time. Some assets have aged better than others. The main characters and villains still look great. I like these guys in DKC3 that are constantly slipping on the ice like but the bears in the same game, they look rough. The clownfish, the lips go right through their fucking nose. What the shit is that about? The sperm ropes in DKC2, need I say more? There are a few things here that age hasn't been kind to, but again, products of their time. The environments have aged the best, I think, even after so many years. Every game in the trilogy has its share of stellar sprite work. How to go back to DKC3, I know this is the one most don't immediately think of, but I was impressed how good this game ended up looking. I mean, just check the underwater levels, my god. They're a little busy, but the detail is superb. Across the board, I think the SNES trilogy still holds up, a little limited in some regard, but visually still very impressive, especially when you consider the context of the era it was released for. And you play it on a CRT if you want to get the best experience, I think. These games are all easily available on current consoles and such, but nothing beats whipping out the old Super Nintendo, getting that metric ton television, and pretending you're back to a time before you learn what bills were. That said, I did emulate my ventures through these games for this video, as I no longer have any physical Donkey Kong Country games for my Super Nintendo. I have no fucking clue where they went. Oh, but I still have Star Trek Starfleet Academy and Bulls vs. Blazers in the NBA playoffs. Who makes a sports game where there's only 2 teams? What kind of shit is that? They fucking put anything on a card just to make a quick buck back then. Alright then, let's get started with the very first Donkey Kong Country. Out with the old, in with the new, as Cranky and his phonograph is suddenly usurped by Donkey Kong and his boombox. Though vinyls have since made a comeback in public interest, so you know, eat shit Donkey Kong. I always liked leaving the intro play long enough to get the scrolling variant of the title screen. I must stress again, I was 7 years old when I first played this, and I thought this was the coolest shit I've ever seen in video games. The stories for all these games are nothing complicated, but formalities and all that jazz. Donkey Kong's massive banana hoard has been suddenly stolen by the Kremlin, and I'm not talking Soviet government agents here. I'm talking a species of reptiles led by one King K. Rool, who I presume really likes bananas and wanted to have a major share in the banana stock exchange. Your guess is as good as mine. It's got a pretty colorful bunch of goons too. And Clump has bitch tits. Look at those things. Some enemies are not even Kremlins though. You got these dead-eyed beavers, these vultures that throw shit at you. I love every bonus room that has you smack into one one of these things upon re-entering the level. The devs probably got a thing against birds or some other shit. Fuck! Anyway, wasting no time, Donkey Kong literally breaks out of his own home, fuck using the door, and sets off to get his bananas back. He's also joined by his pal Diddy Kong, who, fun fact, according to the manual, was placed in charge of guarding DK's banana whore, but the Kremlins were like, fuck them kids, and stuffed his ass inside a barrel and pushed him to the side. Game hasn't even started properly, and Diddy's already getting the junior special. I think my favorite thing from the manual was the cranky tidbits. He must have been bitter about losing his phonograph because he pops up in a lot of pages talking mad shit. Though he's got a good point about the note pages though. I never use them anyway. He doesn't stop at the manual either because Cranky can also offer hints whenever you visit his home, but he's such an asshole about it. It's been confirmed that Cranky is the original Donkey Kong from the arcade game, so I get it, but sheesh, take your anger out on the company that abandoned you and not your protege. Fortunately, you got more than Cranky to help you along your island expedition. You got Funky Kong who can offer you a ride between worlds you already completed or are currently exploring. Great for when you need to farm lives or find a bonus from you previously missed. Then you got Candy Kong who saves your game for you and occasionally blows you a smooch. Really makes you wonder why Cranky in his youth tried to steal Pauline when Kongs like candy exist, but maybe Cranky was into that interspecies romance shit. Nothing can hurt me anymore. Inside the game proper, you also have your animal buddies in 4.5 different flavors. You can consider them your basic power-ups. Rambi the rhinoceros, who charges through everything outside of stage hazards, makes finding some bonus rooms pretty easy too. Not very reliable at platforming though, since he tends to be a little slippery on his feet, and some of these platforms are indeed tiny. Then you got Espresso the ostrich, who can't take a hit worth shit but has the fastest ground speed and can momentarily glide in the air to help bypass a huge chunk of terrain. Unguard the swordfish is my favorite. I think he was everyone's favorite because, to jump ahead here, he's the only animal buddy to make it through all 3 SNES games. But that's because Unguard's cool. He makes underwater levels less stressful, he controls well, and he gives a lot of douchebags a good poke. In the second and third game, he even gets this supercharge where you just zoom past everything. I don't mind Winky the Frog, yeah, his name is Winky. I love his high jumps and he can easily take care of things like the dreaded bees. Like my issue with Rambi, his hitbox is a little suspect. Every time I get ready to jump on an enemy or do basic platforming, I'm hoping my ass doesn't just slip through shit or just miss completely. This is the only game he makes an appearance in, so maybe the dude in the VHS tape was right.
We got Winky the Frog, he's bad.
Do I really count Squawks as an animal buddy? Okay, first off, I'm gonna put a little warning now for epileptic viewers because I emulated the OG release of Donkey Kong Country, and Squawks, oh my god. He helps you see in the dark in one level and one level only, and every time you turn around with him, he flashes the screen for a moment, which isn't much, but in the middle of an intense platforming sequence, this shit starts hurting your eyes in no time. You don't gotta worry about this in future releases since they toned this bit down, but this was my first impression of the bird back in the day and I was like, yo, fuck this bird, it hurts just to look at him. Squawks would get a glow up starting in the second game, no flashlight this time. Instead, he just flies around and chucks his unborn kids at folks, putting a darker spin on the term child support. So if you really liked the classic Donkey Kong games, well, sorry to say the Country series plays almost nothing like them, though it does share some elements. By that I mean the barrels. I think that's it actually. Oh no wait, the industrial area has the oil jump from the first game. Okay, that's 2 things. This ain't your grandpappy's Donkey Kong, but since you are in control of the guy, now you can toss barrels at things like a prick. Wooden barrels, steel barrels, you can even ride the steel barrels and show up before you inevitably eat shit. If you're really hurting for the old days, there is this one enemy who tosses barrels at you like before, Manky Kong. He's a jerk. Got a real face for radio too, like if a coconut gave birth to an orangutan. Donkey Kong Country is a 2D platformer placing you in charge of Donkey and Diddy Kong as you progress through the stage given to you until you reach the end, then you do it again and again until you reach the boss of that world, beat them senseless, and start slowly getting your bananas back. You can play as either Donkey Kong or Diddy Kong. You start the game as Donkey Kong, but just a few inches to the right of the screen is your first DK barrel, which always houses the Kong you currently don't have. If you have both Kongs available, you can switch between them with the select button, where you will then inevitably stick with Diddy for the rest of the game and never switch back to Donkey Kong because Diddy is just a hands down better character. But to be fair to Donkey Kong, he can stomp certain Kremlins with one hop that Diddy either needs 2 to do the job, or a barrel if he can't bonk them at all, like with the jacked up crushes or bitch tit clumps here. Outside of that, that's it. Nope, he's a bit slower, he throws barrels at an arc which doesn't have the same precision as Diddy's straight arrow toss. You know when you jump with the character and you can just feel the weight of them as you jump, something that makes you go or every time you hop across platforms, making you squeeze your controller harder out of reflex. That's how I feel platforming with Donkey Kong. You can beat levels with him no problem, but he's just a bit too heavy for my liking. Diddy doesn't have the power, but his speed and precision with platforms, and need I remind you again, a platform game, makes him ideal for traversing stages, and his skill with barrels makes his weakness kinda moot if you ask me. He's got the perfect amount of ground speed and area movement, he's just a joy to control, which is probably why he's the star in the next game, and Donkey Kong's nowhere to be seen. You got your basic collectibles like these small bananas acting as coins or rings would in other games. You get enough of them, you get an extra life, and you can even score these DK balloons and score extra lives that way. Every stage also has a set of letters that spell Kong if you find them, or if you fuck up, Con, Cog, Og. They're completely optional, not needed at all for 100% completion, and frankly, not really worth the effort. You find all 4 letters and you get 1 extra life, in a game where extra lives are just thrown at you like candy from the surplus of bananas and other bonuses available. I think later games give them more significance, but in the SNES games, they're just something for an extra life. If you really want to rake in the lives, you can find these tokens of your animal friends. Collect 3 of a set and you warp to a bonus room starring the animal buddy in question for a chance to score a shit ton of lives depending on the number of tokens you collect. Find the bonus multiplier and you double what you already collected, and I love doing these, but 2 things. I hated how fast the countdown ticked for Ramby's level. The other guys, you got plenty of time. This one apparently has other shit to do. Why does he get the short end of the stick in bonus stages? The precision and speed needed to collect a bunch of tokens, jump on these platforms, make it to the bonus multiplier to make it all worth a damn is surprisingly difficult. Nobody gets it as bad as Ramby. However, being a child who hated Echo the Dolphin with every fiber of his being, Unguard's bonus stage made me uncomfortable. There are no enemies in any of these bonus stages, it should be said, but that didn't stop me from feeling unnerved in Unguard stage anyway. The red ocean in the background, along with the lack of anything outside of tokens to collect, was enough to make me go, oh God, where the hell am I? Well, hell, actually, now that I say it out loud. And that's your basic gist of the game. Most levels are straightforward enough. You go left to right, you reach the end, and that's it. But some levels will have you swim underwater. Can't really attack anything like this since I'm guessing both Kongs are using every bit of willpower to hold their breath indefinitely. Life is full of compromise and such. But this is where Unguard really shines, like I said. Just give these punks a good bitch. As all platformers should, your skills are used to clobber Kremlins, jumping on platforms, launching out of barrels of all orientations until you get to the ones that spin 360 degrees and realize you hate everything, and dealing with unique obstacles tailored to that world's themes. Though the whole game kind of has this rule of 3. I like to think of it like Crash Bandicoot, where certain level themes escalate and challenge the further you go. One example that comes to mind is Stop and Go Station, where you have to speed through the stage making sure the barrels stay on stop. Otherwise, these scary little fucking things would run rampant and take your life while giving 7-year-old John nightmares. A stage later in the game, Loopy Lights, shares a similar spirit, but the punishment is making the whole stage completely dark if you're too slow, making it nearly impossible to complete. It's got a dick move with the last second claptrap too, assholes. Poison Pond, the last of the water levels, should also give you a good idea on how difficulty scales within level themes. This place sucks if you don't know the secret locations of Unguard. I'm serious, scour the area immediately and find this dude, because this stage is not only infested with these spinning wheels, it also has this one section where a bunch of these piranhas that seem so erratic. Not to mention, we're swimming in toxic God knows what. This is definitely going to come back to bite the guys in their later years. There are 2 levels where you're even on a minecart, testing your reflexes as you jump over obstacles, enemies, and bottomless pits alike. It's not so bad until you just... yeah, no, but both of them are relatively harmless. The track levels, more specifically the last one, Tanked Up Trouble, gave me all the shit as a kid. You get a taste of the stage earlier with Trick Track, that's pretty fun to say. But besides this bit here where they throw bitch tits at you, it's a standard auto-scroller. Here on top of that, you also got to keep the platform filled with fuel or else the thing falls. It's a constant scramble to grab that fuel can as soon as possible while trying not to fall off. I had the hardest time with this in my youth. The situation made me anxious, and when I'm anxious, I fuck up even the simplest problems. Donkey Kong Country is, all things considered, a pretty cozy time. I think it's the easier of the 3 I'm looking at today, and the lack of difficulty was in some part intentional. According to the devs, it was originally more challenging, but Nintendo mandated that it be made more forgiving to ease in new and old players, which I think worked out well. I find the only real challenging part is the staple of Rare Design games, finding all the things. Your save file has a completion total, maxing out at a whopping 101%, going the extra mile there, but just clearing the stages won't get you anywhere close to that number. There are secrets to be found, and in this game, that's bonus rooms, where you can earn even more extra lives. Every stage outside of the swimming levels have at least one, and it's a scavenger hunt, high and low, forward and back to find every single one, and you gotta have an eagle eye to spot some of these motherfuckers. I bet you didn't even notice that one that was there until I just picked it up. This game in particular loves to hide them inside hidden walls to the point of obnoxiousness, and you can only discover them by throwing barrels at them or launching headfirst into a wall and get a concussion, or you can use Ramby to break open the path. Shoutouts to the one bonus room that's inside another bonus room. The only time in the game they do this, and it's so oddly obtuse, you have to deliberately get the worst prize from the roulette, a single banana, but instead of getting that single banana, it spawns a barrel that you then have to hurry and use before the game ends, which only Diddy can do, by the way, because Donkey's wide-ass throw takes too long to wind up and the game will end before you can even throw it. Was this bonus designed the day before the game went gold? It's so weird. Assuming you're not using something like DKC Atlas, which, forewarning, I love that site, but it's a fucking memory hog. If you want my advice when looking for shit in any of these games, you follow the bananas. The next two games are much better about this though. I was actually surprised by how many bonuses I found myself in DKC3 just using in-game hints and the like. But sometimes this game will throw you a bone too. Sometimes. Most of the time, they just make you do a lot of leap of faith bullshit, and the only reason I know it's there is because I wasted a bunch of lives when I was looking for them as a kid. But yeah, if you notice a banana in an odd formation, odds are it's a hint towards a secret, so go for it. The most you lose is a life in a game where they already give you so many. And a great thing about this game, the whole trilogy for that matter, when you're revisiting a stage to find bonuses, you can hit start and select to immediately exit the stage and move on. These aren't the kind of games that, require you to complete the stage for the bonuses to count. No, they're registered the moment you nab them, so you don't gotta be in any stage longer than what's required. Compared to the other two games though, DKC1 is the only one where the ending isn't really affected by your completion total. At most you'll get some congratulatory message from Cranky, but fuck him. So if you don't want to find everything, you don't really need to. No matter what you do, Donkey Kong will get his bananas back once he thrashes King K. Rool for good. He's a fun boss too. I like jumping in sync with him towards the second half because I'm a douchebag. I think that's a good point to jump into the musical tangent. This was the game that really exposed me to composer David Wise, who composed this game, the second, and pieces of the third game, though that was mostly done by Evelyn Fisher, who definitely contributed a different, more atmospheric take, but overall I thought she did a pretty damn good job. The music across all three games is nothing short of great, though DKC3 does rank lowest in my totem pole, if only because it's the one I played the least. The first game is a nice blend of bouncy fun and atmosphere, the second game embraces the more arcade-like nature of the gameplay, supplementing the whole package, while the third game, as I said, is more atmospheric, but it isn't afraid to get a little crazy and cartoony either. Since I know I'll be asked this, I'd like to hear what you guys say in the comments below. It's a tie between DKC1 and DKC2 for my favorite soundtrack of the three. I love a lot of tracks in DKC2. Snake Chantley gets my toes tapping, it's so much fun. I know Bramble Blast is considered an all-time classic, and I do enjoy it, but it also makes me think of Squawks' section of Animal Antics, so no. My favorite is always going to be Mining Melancholy, though. I can't explain it well enough, it's just one of those tracks that vibe with me to the core. I'm sure everyone here has music like that. But the tracks I love in DKC1, I love more than anything in DKC2. You get what I'm saying? It's a fickle equilibrium. DKC1 starts strong with Jungle Hijinks, what's considered Donkey Kong's World 1-1 from Super Mario Bros. Life in the Mines, admittedly a more somber track compared to others, is nevertheless a perfect companion piece for some of the game's darker levels. Aquatic ambience, the underwater theme, some of David Wise's best work from what I've experienced anyway. I don't know. There's a lot of rare games I haven't played, but this track is simply divine. There's a YouTube channel by the name of Jammin' Sam Miller who made full restorations of these songs, and the sheer quality of the music uncompressed I think speaks volumes of David Wise's talent. But Sam Miller did a great job too. He made the restorations in the first place. Give these a listen to when you can. Alright, musical tangent aside, back to the game. King K. Rool is bopped in the head and put in his place. DK gets his bananas back. No sign of Browning to be seen. These are some magical fucking bananas. But now we head into Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest, which I've misread as Diddy Kong's Quest for an embarrassingly long time. As revenge for last time, Captain K. Rool and his Kremlins have kidnapped Donkey Kong and taken him hostage, but you ain't gonna find him immediately in a DK barrel this time. He's out of the picture for the whole game here, leaving Diddy to team up with his girlfriend Dixie Kong, who can use her long hair that I only just now realized looks like a banana. God, I'm dense. Anyway, she can use her long hair to glide through the air, making her excellent in handling tougher than normal obstacles. She's not quite as fast as Diddy, and like Donkey Kong, she throws her barrels in an arc, which is why I still prefer Diddy overall, but her shortcomings are not as egregious as DK's, so I find myself switching between these two a lot. And starting in this game, you can even toss your buddy like a projectile, which I wouldn't recommend doing on certain enemies. But it's incredibly helpful reaching bonus barrels and other goodies that are just out of reach. And my god, you're gonna need it, because DKC2 really ramped up the challenge, like the whole package. The stages are more challenging, the boss fights are thankfully more challenging because they were pretty brain dead in DKC1. I mean, my god, the fucking oil drum kills himself after enough time. The bonuses are more challenging, and unlike the first game, you actually have to complete them for it to count towards percentage, where in the first game it's required that you find the bonus room at all. This isn't so bad for most of the game because there's nothing stopping you from re-entering the bonus barrel if you mess it up. Unless it was like an auto-scroller, then you basically have to reset the whole thing, and those are pretty annoying. DKC2 asks more from the player, and it isn't like Super Ghouls and Ghosts hard to compare to something for this channel, all, but it's gonna make you work for it, especially if you want to get everything, which is now required if you want the full ending. And that's where I'm split on Diddy's Conquest, because to go back to the Crash Bandicoot comparison, I feel like I'm playing two different games depending on my goal. If I'm just playing every level front to back without a care for the bonuses and other collectibles, then man, I love it as much, if not a little more, than DKC 1. The game's a little tougher, but you still have plenty of means to score extra lives. You can collect these banana coins that you can use for bonus hints, or you can play around with Swanky's bonus bonanza and get a bunch of lives that way, and all it took was you looking at the wiki page, you cheater. Banana coins are also needed for saving the game with Wrinkly Kong here, Cranky's wife. Hey, even assholes need love. The first time you visit her school, the save is free, but on subsequent visits, you gotta pay the fee. It's just 2 coins, but considering Candy's Save Hut was completely free, this just seems strange. I think the inclusion of Swanky and the bonus hints were more than enough incentive to collect the banana coins. I mean, it's all a moot point since I'm emulating the game and I got save states galore, but still, I can't imagine this decision was very popular in 1995, and considering saves are once again free in the game after this, maybe I was right. The variance in level themes is so good in this game. You got pirate ships, crystal mines, active volcanoes, thorny brambles, honeycombs, amusement parks, marshlands. Goodness, the secret levels alone are so beautiful to look at and play around in. You got new animal friends in the form of Rattly, who I think is kind of a downgrade from Winky if I'm being real. He's got the jumping height, and I'm sure he's got a great personality, but if you thought Winky's hitbox was weird, Rattly's gonna make you think, fuck! But I think his dedicated stages are still pretty fun, except for Toxic Tower, which no. This game also gives us Squitter, the spider with fucking 4 pairs of Nikes. This dude's got that fuck money. But Squitter is awesome, probably my favorite animal buddy, hands down. He can shoot web projectiles that kill just about anything. He can also make his own temporary web platforms. It's a great combination of abilities that makes him stand out from the rest. I know I'm in for a good time whenever Squitter is available, for both this game and DKC 3, because they brought him back for the repeat. Love to see it. Rambi, Unguard, and Squawks are the only ones to make a return from before, acting pretty much the same with new charge abilities. Squawks, though, as I said, got a complete rework. He's cool until you gotta do those fucking bramble stages with the guy. He's got the worst section in the final secret level Animal Antics, where you gotta avoid the bramble with wind pushing you in every direction. Fucking sucks. The race against this jerk is also a pain in the ass. Oh, get fucked, idiot! I managed to skip the trigger! Good shit, good shit. But yeah, when I'm not stressing myself about collecting everything in the game, I'm really enjoying myself. Mechanically, it's a step up, a quality all sequels should strive for. But deep down in your heart and soul, you know if you're not getting everything, you're not so much completing it, you're just finishing it. And that's where my compulsion kicks in. Because I know there are secret levels that only open if I collect those creme coins, which you collect after completing a bonus stage or by beating a boss, because I know there's a secret final boss that unlocks after I complete all the secret stages. Fine, I'll collect every bonus, and that's where the game gets really crazy. You gotta comb everything to find every bonus, on top of having to complete the bonus for it to even count. To say nothing of the DK coins, which are not needed to reach the true ending, but are required to reach the full 102% for your save file. I wonder how high this number will get at the tail end of this series. Some of these are just plain mean to find. You gotta think outside the box for a good chunk of them already, but there's also a select few that are inside bonus rooms. Dick move, guys. And there's 2 that are placed in the end level roulette, so if you don't time it right, you gotta do the whole stage over to get another shot. Dick move, guys. All just for some additional recognition from Cranky Kong, who I'm pretty sure is a sexist douchebag. I collect these for myself, not this guy. Yeah, eat shit, Mario, Yoshi, Sonic, and Earthworm Jim. What the fuck? I get Sonic, but what did Earthworm Jim do to deserve the no hopers remark? Oh, okay, that makes sense. Fully completing Donkey Kong Country 2 is not at all humongous undertaking, especially in an age with save states and other emulation tools available. It's just one of those things I don't really like doing, and I'm a little torn on that because the secret levels that you unlock in the Lost World that you need to collect bonuses to even play, those are genuinely great stages, except the Squawk section of Animal Antics. You can consider these a reward for going the extra mile, and for some, that's all they need to be. But I kinda wish they weren't locked behind bonuses. In this game, I just like to take the sights, tackle the challenge given to me, and be on my way, and in that regard, Donkey Kong Country 2 is a great time. However, and maybe this is where I start getting a little controversial here, but upon finally completing Donkey Kong Country 3 for this video, I think this one slightly edges it out. Let's give some context though. So the original Donkey Kong Country, I played the hell out of that game since 1994. Donkey Kong Country 2, I did not play when it originally came out, bearing one time I saw it at a demo kiosk at a Toys R Us or Blockbuster, I forget which one. But I wouldn't get to fully play it until years later when I first discovered emulation in high school in the early 2000s. So I also know a part of my lack of fondness for DKC 2 is because I don't have many nostalgic memories as I do with DKC 1. DKC 3 though was one I never had much interest in from the get-go, not even in emulation because back then then, I wasn't very interested in playing a Donkey Kong Country that didn't have either Donkey Kong or Diddy Kong. Granted, that's an incredibly superficial reason, but for my teenage self, it was a hard sell. So I initially passed on it until this video, where I not only played the whole thing, I also fully completed this one too, and you know what? I really enjoyed myself. Both DK and Diddy Kong have been kidnapped once again by K. Rool, or Baron K. Rulenstein. I don't get the name changes. King K. Rool, Captain K. Rool, Baron K. Rulenstein. Does he have multiple personalities? Is that what's happening here? I like the idea that outside of his villainous shenanigans, he apparently has a wife who might give him shit later for using her pots and pans to create this chaos robot that acts as the central antagonist for most of the game. This is how K. Rool escapes for the weekend, because you know Monday to Friday he's stuck in a regular ass 9 to 5 with a dead-end marriage. So Dixie is left to fend off the Kremlins with nothing but her golden locks and her baby but no less huge cousin Kitty Kong, who kinda sounds like Tom the cat when he loses a life. Their dynamic is very similar to DK and Diddy's chemistry in DKC1. Dixie is the small and nimble one still rocking her hair glide, and for this game they did increase her ground speed to be comparable to Diddy, so she has seen some upgrades, but her ground roll still doesn't feel very good to use as an attack. Kitty is the larger, more powerful Kong that can take out threats easier than Dixie, though by all accounts, Kitty is a better Donkey Kong. He doesn't feel as heavy as DK during platforming, and his barrel tossing is just better and more accurate by comparison. Both are also capable of carrying each other to reach different areas, but you're mainly throwing Dixie with Kitty because his strength and reach just outclasses Dixie by a country mile. As for animal buddies, Unguard, Squitter, and Squawks return. The rest are new faces, and I won't lie, they're not that spectacular. You got Ellie the elephant, pretty much a downgrade from Rambi in almost every way. When she can squirt water from her nostrils, she's fine. She's a projectile fighter, the same quality I love about Squitter. But every other time, she's either just jumping on platforms no different than how Dixie and Kitty do it, or she's being spooked by rats, because elephants hate rodents, don't you know? Right, there's also Perry. I'm not sure if he even counts since he's not really helpful. The gimmick with him is that you gotta make sure he doesn't take any damage until you reach the endpoint, where he'll then reward you with a collectible or even a bonus room. Where the hell was he hiding that fucking thing, huh? One of the less interesting animal friends outside of Squawks from DKC2, who I haven't even mentioned until now because he was just a purple Squawks that could only fly downwards. Nothing much to say there. But in this game, he's now capable of full flight and can also grab barrels to help clear the way. You know, not bad at all. Perry notwithstanding, they all still feel like proper power-ups, and that's what matters for the journey ahead. I'm gonna admit though, I got a little worried when I started a new file and I saw all those empty slots. Oh Jesus, what are they making me collect this time? Bonus rooms, DK coins, which are now mandatory to reach the ending this time. Trinkets for these bears, these gears from this game's Lost World, these banana birds. Yeah, banana birds. Look at this thing. Look at their mom. It's a banana. That's also a bird. Banana bird. Maybe I should lay off this shit. It's starting to feel a little bloated in here, but it's not much more than what was asked before. The gears, I mean, for one thing, they're automatically given to you just by completing the hidden levels in the game's Lost World. Bonus rooms are still the same, nothing new there. They did change up DK coins for the better. You now have to find this dude using the coin as a shield and use a barrel to knock it out of him. And from my experience, none of these get nearly as unforgiving as the DK coins in the last game, so I'm glad they eased up on it. Especially since they're now mandatory for the ending, maybe that's why they did it. The trinkets are merely items you trade amongst this family of bears in this game's hub world. If they're not straight up given to you by completing certain stages, you just buy them for cheap with this game's bear coins. This game's equivalent to the banana coins from last time. I'm not sure how I feel about the inclusion of a hub world altogether. In the previous games, you just went from one world to the next. This game requires that you take your boat, your hovercraft, or your helicopter, and manually travel to the next world yourself. I don't mind it, it's just there's not much to do outside of the simple bear quests, unlocking the hidden world, which takes only a few seconds, or discovering the many caves that require a game of Simon Says to unlock a banana bird. It's a harmless inclusion, but one I don't think was necessary for the series. Well, for what it's worth, getting past that, I was surprised how much I ended up liking this one. Yeah, Donkey and Diddy aren't around, but it's still Donkey Kong Country. A Donkey Kong Country that I think has the best blend of platforming and challenge. It is more difficult than the first game, but it's not as steep as the last game, and I'm including the process of getting everything. That's still quite the task, but I ended up finding almost every secret myself without the need of having to use a map or guide. I thought the level design made it clear enough where secrets were without holding your hand. The level design was just rewarding in general, constantly rewarding exploration and curiosity, the kind of thing I love to see in any platformer. There are a few snags, sure, the boss fights were a step down from DKC2, I felt. Now some of those guys went on a little long. I'm looking at you, Cudgel. Oh, fuck off. Still, these guys kept me engaged, and they were much better than anything DKC1 offered outside of King K. Rool himself. I didn't even find any guys in this game to be very memorable outside of the snowman who blows up after he jazzed hand too hard. Graphically they look great, I'll give them that, but graphics can only carry so much of the weight. For stages, I really didn't like this tree level where you had to use this barrel shield to avoid the monkey feces, at least that's what I think they're throwing at me. I get they want you to be on a certain side of the rope to get the full effect, but come on, that shouldn't matter. The rocket barrel sequence in the final hidden level, it's exhilarating but too too reliant on trial and error. One mistake and you're down a life. Poisonous pipeline, a swimming level with your controls reversed. But those are the only real negative examples I can think of. I thought the rest of this game was pretty fun. It is big on gimmicks that you really only see 1 or 2 times and that's it, but there wasn't a gimmick I found too intrusive. Gives lots of levels their own identity besides Forest Stage 1 and Forest Stage 2. I like the conveyor belts and conveyor rope clash. I love the snowboarding minecart levels. Oh, the low gravity stuff of Low G Labyrinth. Love this kind of obstacle. As I was recording this game, there was a part of me that was waiting for that sudden turn for the worse. The point of the game that would justify my initial hesitancy of playing this game so long ago, but that never happened. And it wasn't because of review obligation, I was genuinely having a good time. A stronger first impression than what I remember DKC2 leaving on me, despite enjoying that game as well. I don't know, maybe I need a few more playthroughs, or maybe a few more years to think about it, but I ended up enjoying my playthrough of DKC3 more than I did my playthrough of DKC2 for this video. It doesn't have DKC2's soundtrack, that's for sure, but for the meat and potatoes of the game, I think DKC3 has the better level design and better balance of difficulty. It didn't frustrate me to complete this game like DKC2 did. I'll give you that the ending sucks. You beat K. Rool again and then leave his fate to the Banana Bird Queen, and it's some of the most anticlimactic shit you can experience in a video game outside of A Winner Is You. But it's the journey, not the destination, that matters in this case, and DKC3 is a journey I very much recommend. My heart still places the original Donkey Kong Country on top, but that's my nostalgic bias speaking. It's the Donkey Kong game I played the most, the one I have the most memories with. Don't matter how objectively better the other games are, I still really enjoy DKC1. But DKC 2 and 3 are objectively better, so of course I'm going to recommend those games too. In fact, just play the whole damn trilogy. They're available on the Switch's online service. Pretty sure some virtual console still exists out there. You can get them there too. They're a little bloated with collectibles, but that does not stop the games from being a bunch of fun. I'm just glad I can finally rest from collecting shit.